Peace. My name is Omar Offendum. I'm a Syrian-American hip-hop artist. I was born in Saudi Arabia, raised in Washington, D.C., and I currently live in Los Angeles, California. My background as a Syrian, Arab, Muslim American definitely affects my music. Even though I don't go out of my way to tell people that I'm an Arab rapper or a Muslim rapper, it naturally kind of just plays out in the lyrics that I write, in the fact that I rap in both English and Arabic. You know, as the Arab uprisings first started taking place in Tunisia and then later in Egypt and Libya and other countries, it was very inspiring. You know, I'm not going to lie, that was something that I'd never expected to see, and was very, very happy and proud to be able to witness, as I have. It felt like, things were finally happening, and a lot of the issues that I felt like I was addressing for many years in my music were finally kind of bubbling to the surface. Issues of corruption, nepotism, bribery in all these countries, regimes that kind of exploit and manipulate whole populations through fear. And so to finally see those fear barriers being broken, it sent shivers down my spine, you know.
يمن عمان بحرين سودان صومال نيجيريا عراق مغرب لبنان كويت أردن سعودية UAE موريتان جيبوتي قطر قمر سوريا فلسطين and we won't stop until there's حرية فلسطين.
You know, when I first started hearing those and seeing those videos coming out of Syria, it shook me to my core, because I knew just how much they were up against, and I knew how difficult it was to break that barrier of fear. And so to see this taking place now, it's a triumph in and of itself. And even though it is a long, bloody, difficult revolution in Syria, the fact that it's been able to sustain itself as long as it has is incredible to me. And so I'm, again, find myself in awe of these young people who've been able to do this.
Sweet surrender, send them off, kicking and screaming with an agreement that their lenders cut them off at their knees and get to freezing bank accounts and hold amounts for what they stole amounts to treason. Till all these clowns start stepping down and skipping town. It's hunting season.
You know, the simple fact is, even when the dictator steps down, like in a place like Egypt, for example, that doesn't mean that it's over. That means it's only just begun, and the difficult days still lie ahead. This could take an entire generation to kind of really see the true fruits of. But I think that's something that the people are willing to wait for and to push for. I mean, that's what this is all about at the end of the day. You know, when you've suffered under a regime for 40 years, an oppressive regime, you're willing to go that extra mile to make sure that you don't have to do that again, that you don't have to go through that again, that your children don't have to go through that again.
Childhood reminders backward. How could I forget when my reaction to Collin strong fragrance yet and still finds attraction as proud fathers wait for a sweet daughter's face unmasking.
In particular, it has been very frustrating to watch, the events pan out, both in terms of how the regime obviously is cracking down on the protests, in terms of how they are fanning the flames of sectarianism. And in terms of how people are feeding into that, unfortunately, it's very sad to see a nation with such a long history of coexistence to kind of succumb to that. But the simple fact is, Syria's history is longer and greater than this regime, and it will prove to be well after that. And so that's what gives me faith that we're able to make it through this. Something sad about Syria in particular is that a lot of people kind of hit the brakes. They were so supportive of Tunisia and Egypt, but when things started taking place in Syria, you find that a lot of people who would call themselves quote-unquote liberals or radicals were kind of siding with the regime and saying that this is a conspiracy against this regime. Whether or not you feel that other nations might be trying to influence what happens there later, doesn't change the fact that those people have every right and deserve every single right that they're demanding. And it's about dignity at the end of the day, and that's something that for so long was basically stamped out of these people, not just in Syria but all over the region. And so, for them to be reaffirming themselves and their rights and their dignity in that way is a beautiful thing, and I support it wholeheartedly.
to see it. Once again, it's the saddest thing in this world. But hey, this is how I feel for you. So if I ask you what's Damascus like, you tell me that it's like a glimpse into the afterlife. Right. So if they ask you what's Damascus like, say it's a glimpse into the afterlife.
It has been over 40 years that this regime is extremely corrupt and that they're willing to do anything to stay in power, and we see that now. And you know, if you're a humanitarian, if you're somebody who believes in equal rights and social justice, that's unacceptable nowadays. And so I wish and pray for the best for all Syrian people and equality for all Syrian people, because I know that this regime fans those flames of sectarianism, and I try to remind everybody that Syria is ours. It's not one family's, it's everybody's. And this is not just for Syria. Again, I mean, this is just from a humanitarian standpoint, and this is something that I would desire to see for all people on earth. It just happens to affect me a little bit deeper.
So we won't stop until there's